Okay, so I had to start it over because I was just fidgeting and too much. So, hello, my name is Asia, aka Sister Satya. For those who do not know how to say this, Sister Satya. I'm in a very noisy chair. If you do hear it, I'm sorry about that. I'm currently in Columbus, Ohio, where the spa is residing that my mother has, and that I'm also a social media manager of. I need to hydrate. I'm going to activate that throat chakra, get it popping today. So yeah, it's a bit early. I really haven't been asleep. I feel like I've been asleep, which is crazy because I did not go to sleep. I've just been up downloading. Just downloading. 7:17 on the clock over there. I'm pretty sure it's not that time, but see it. So yeah, today we're talking about toxic femininity versus divine femininity. And I felt like it was a very important topic because I was talking to a girlfriend of mine and just like kind of digging deeper in, spirituality, and I really want to thank Luna for that so much. Thank you, Luna. So yeah, let's get into feminine energy when it comes to the psyche. So we're dealing with the right brain, right? We're dealing with your ability to receive, your receptivity, your creative energy, your softness, your synthesizing and integrating abilities, which is very important when it comes to the divine masculine and purging toxic masculinity within ourselves and toxic femininity, This is dealing with surrendering, being able to surrender your values, and ultimately this is cyclic. So yeah, this is your right brain functionality, right? So let's talk about what the divine feminine is first. I made some notes on this earlier. Okay, so the divine feminine, she is the energy of beingness and not being afraid to just sit still in the moment. She's also one to trust herself. She has faith, and she's patiently observing, leaning back into situations, just like, surrender and sit still, essentially. Okay, so now we're going to kind of compare to toxic femininity traits. And one big one is basically someone being highly untrustful of themselves, and that is very very dangerous. So another thing would be someone that's always looking outside of themselves for verification, external validation, things of that sort, which is ultimately operating through your lower self, because you should be able to have that trust within yourself to make decisions. You don't have to always get outside source to know. You can know within, operating through your divine feminine, right? But this may not sound toxic to someone, right? This sounds regular, right? Sometimes when you don't trust yourself. No. It still is very dangerous to not be able to trust yourself, because then you're essentially missing that. I feel close off. You're missing that intuition. You're missing the intuition to, be able to deal with certain situations that you might not have gotten yourself into yet had you been capable of using that intuition for yourself. Dealing with external activities. So another example of this toxic femininity trait would be a lack of receptivity, lack of being able to receive, right? You're unable to receive information, you're unable to receive compliments, you're unable to receive love, you're unable to receive criticism, you're unable to receive, right? And so bad mom things are one. right? Yeah, bad things are happening when that happens, when you're not able to receive naturally, because in your divine feminine state you trust, right? And you are receptive. So some people have that trust issue and they aren't able to receive information or maybe a compliment from someone that likes them, right? And this could also apply to, like, when your partner's trying to communicate to you that they feel a way about something that you did, and you kind of ignore it because you have that toxic femininity. Able to receive the message that they're sending to you. The signal is, hey, I'm hurt. Can we work this out? Can we talk this out? Can we talk through it? When men sometimes try to convey that, but then women can be operating through toxic femininity and kind of shun you or close you off, or not really want to talk about it. That's a lack of receptivity, right? Also lacking your intuitive nature to yourself to be able to comfort them, and your nurturing nature, comforting, and you also may not be able to acknowledge it, and identify it within yourself, the things that they tell you, or it might not even be about you, it might just be about someone else, and you just have that lack of receptivity and that lack of that non-empathetic behavior. Also is very toxic. Men or women, is for everybody, non-binary, everybody deals with this. Every being deals with this. Being lost due to toxic femininity, due to not being able to just open up and be gentle and be soft and talk about your problems and feel and not ignore your feelings. Ignoring your feelings, ignoring how you feel about a certain situation is very toxic as well. Toxic femininity as well, right? And that can happen with men too, when they try to act like they're like, oh, she's not, who is she to me? She's just some girl, like, or whatever you might say about the person. That's very toxic. Learn to communicate, learn to be a healthy being, or work on it, and just try. Just try. And me myself, I've dealt with a lot of ending of relationships through toxic femininity on my end and on their end. My end, sometimes I would try to be overwhelmingly nurturing. That can be toxic too. It's a divine feminine nature to be nurturing. But if you're overly nurturing and you're not caring, you're overly nurturing to someone else, right? You're pouring your cup out into someone else's. That is toxic femininity too. Too much of a good thing can be bad, right? My voice is so froggy. We need some spring water, because my mom been like bringing this Fiji water in, and I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So it's obviously not tickling spots. Anyways. So being able to just sit back and turn off your left brain activity, which is your masculine energy, which is sometimes analyzing everything, all the time. That's just one of the traits in it. We'll talk about that in a different video. Okay. So being able to just sit back and be is a very powerful thing that a lot of people tend to miss, and it's because they might not be tapped into that ability to be able to just sit and just think, not just react. Don't just react all the time, like, oh my gosh. Some people just react and aren't able to just sit there. Like, when things are coming at you all the time, you don't have to react at every angle. It's exerting your energy way too much. Okay? Sometimes if you can't just sit still and be, that means that you might be dealing with some spiritual attacks, and for you to just be and sit, you might be able to identify those spiritual attacks that you're dealing with, like the energy that's opposing you. I fucked it up. I messed it up. But we're just gonna make this part 2, okay? So, anyways, like I was saying, like, let me get it right, girl. Let me get it right. Let me get it right, girl. Let me get it right. Like I was saying, sometimes people can be projecting energy onto you. Opposing energies can be projecting, right? And we can be soaking that in. So I find it very important to protect your neck and protect your crown. Very much so, right? Because these spiritual attacks are triggering your shadow side essentially, but it does not have to with trust within yourself. When you have trust within yourself, you don't have to identify with these certain spiritual attacks that are made upon you. I'm actually like seeing this Nag Champa. It's blue. The smoke is blue. So yeah, we're talking about that. Talking about protecting your neck and, you know, thank you. So yeah, so it says when I said when people have not nurtured and loved after their shadow side, they will tend to get nasty and spiteful and diving into toxic masculinity. Yes, so you know, when you haven't dealt with certain things that may have hurt you, you tend to reflect and hurt others, you know, and that's a doing thing, and that's toxic masculinity, when you don't know how to receive the message, and then you're just kind of deflecting, and you're being in that toxic masculine mode when you might say something nasty to that person because you're not really trying to hear it out, right? And also, I just wanted to give a huge thanks to, her name is Big Body High Priestess. I think her name is Mercedes. She is amazing. Her videos are amazing, and I feel like she has definitely inspired this video to be able to like explain to y'all what she's talking about, like breaking it down a little bit with divine feminine, divine masculine, just the definitions part. So I really like thank her so much for giving me the, you know, inspiration. I'm sorry, I'm weird. So yeah, go watch her videos and go request a reading from her. She's great. I'm trying to get a reading, so yeah. Yep, so I mentioned again that it's not only applicable to women, but also to men, non-binary, everybody. And I feel like if we're still talking about what applies to what when it comes to masculine and feminine traits, like, that's a really different timeline. This is 2020, and you should not have to be on that timeline of not knowing that you have feminine traits, not knowing that you have masculine traits, not knowing that they can be toxic, not identifying that they can be toxic. Because there's a lot of men that are like, what is toxic masculinity? That's not a real thing. Yes, it is. There's a such thing as toxic femininity as well. There's a such thing as divine feminine, divine masculine. And how could you be so divine if you cannot identify with that? And it's weird because it's like this spiritual community that's kind of like that sometimes. I'm not gonna label myself as anything other than holistic. Okay. Yep. So some more examples of toxic feminine traits would be a lack of receptivity, a lack of trust within oneself, hater as energy, hate a hating ass bitch. Okay, we don't like you. We don't like your type. No, but for real, because like it's just nasty. You know, well, maybe I'll get back to the hater energy, but I want to put them all out. So feeling less by seeing others thriving in their abundance, that is very toxic in your femininity. Neglect of self-care, poor hygiene, not being present or aware of oneself. Someone who is weak mentally and non-empathetic, feeling what other people feel, right? And these are all my definitions, based upon observation, based upon source, divine information, right? Yeah, so going back to the hater energy, when you just like see people gossipy, it's just like, she's this, or he's that, or look at how fat they look, or look at No, we're not doing none of that, okay? It's all love. Not like seriously. It kind of gets on my nerves when people are operating through that low vibrational energy to the point where everything that kind of comes out of their mouth is just a spew of spite. And it's just like, it be the biggest Christians too, which is kind of funny. Not just to bag on anyone who's Christian, but I'm just saying people in the Christian community can tend to do that. Nigga, why are you going so slow? What you doing? What is he doing? Anyways, yeah, so let's revisit divine feminine right after going into that rabbit hole. Okay. Divine feminine, this is a woman, man, non-binary person that is radiant and just being able to just be still, be in chaos and be still. You know what they say, like, to quiet the mind. It's a powerful thing to be able to do, to clear your mind. And that's definitely being helped with the right side of your brain, you know. And let's see, also, she whom allows herself to trust. Big. Women that are on here on social media talking about, I have trust issues. I have trust issues. No. We're not doing that one. She allows herself to have faith. She has faith naturally. It's in her nature to have faith, and she's patient. A woman who's patient, a woman who's diligent, with patience and growing in patience. This is also a woman knowing that manifestations are very much so not to be taken lightly, because you can manifest and co-create an environment of chaos, and it can be all up here, and then what's next? You see out there chaos. Okay. And that is definitely operating through toxic feminine and masculine.